Hey, what's going on, my friend? Welcome back. Now we're going to discuss closing the deal. So excellent. You did a great job so far. You got a property under contract. You raised the capital and the whole 9 yards. You move forward with the financial due diligence, the physical due diligence. You had your LOI, all that good stuff. You did it all in sequential order. Even though I didn't describe it in sequential order, but you get what I'm saying. You did everything you need to do. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty of closing the deal. So you close, like I mentioned before, you close on the first week of the month for rent prorations and for security deposit credits, because that will reduce your down payment amount. You want your repair allowances to be as high as possible. You also want to use rent prorations, so you want to close within the first and the fifth of the month. If you have to close later, that's fine, but just keep in mind it's less of a credit you'll receive at closing for rent. Okay, because the seller will get a portion of that because he owned the property or sometime during that month, and the security deposit credits. Okay, and the security deposit credit should be equal somewhat to the rent. So your monthly rent for a 9 unit is $9,000. Then you should get a security deposit virtually for $9,000. It could be a tad bit less because they probably did rent increases. And they might have got a $7,000 deposit in total, and they have $9,000 now because they did rent increases. Then that's understandable. But notify the mortgage lender for the repair allowance credit, as I mentioned, in an addendum. You send it to the mortgage lender as well as to the closing attorney, and have the lender provide you with an anticipated closing date with wiring instructions. So I met a guy at a networking event, and he asked me this question: "Hey, Juan Pablo, I have a partner that wants to invest with me, but now he doesn't want to invest with me. Okay, so what happened during the middle? He chose to invest with me, and then he didn't decide not to." He said, "Oh, the reason being is because when it came to the point about the money, he had reservations." "What do you mean by the money? Please clarify. Please expound upon that, my brother." And he said, "Okay, well, I told him, you have to send me the money, and then once you send me the money, then we can move forward later with closing." I said, "Hold on. So before you even found the deal, you asked this guy to send you money?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Bro, that's a no, 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 no." With my partners that I've done in the past, I've done several partnerships. The very recent one was November 2017. I didn't ask my partners to send me no money for down payment or closing costs. Only time I asked them to send me money is after we had the property under contract, and I incurred all the soft costs and had receipts to prove it for incorporating the entity, because they spoke with the attorney to get that verified. The property inspection, I showed them the property inspection invoice, and me satisfying it, by the way. The appraisal, me sending out a check to the appraisal company and sending them a copy of that check. And traveling expenses, I will itemize: this is how much I spent at the hotel, this is how much I spent for gas, the car rental, my airline tickets, I've had to book a flight as well, tolls, the whole 9 yards. So they were able to verify every single dollar I spent. And then I said, "Hey, you have to pay me a portion of those costs, because I'm going to pay a portion myself since I'm a partner, but you guys have to pay it." So it was three of us. The other two had to pay 2/3 of it. That's the only time I accepted money. But in regard to closing, to cover closing costs as well as for estimated closing costs as well as for the down payment, I had them either wire the money to the closing table, or if they were coming to closing, they had to bring a certified check. But typically, I had them wire it. So I always try to get the wiring instructions. You normally receive this from the closing attorney. You get that from them, and you want to wire to it in advance. So if closing is on a Monday, you want to wire that money by Wednesday or Thursday and make sure they get it. Because I had a situation which one of my partners, he lived in the state of New Jersey, and based upon the banking laws in New Jersey, who would have known, for wire transfers, it doesn't hit the bank account the same day. They have to wait at least one business day for it to process. And I'm in Georgia. So in Georgia, it's the same day. I wired the money through my bank, Chase Bank. The closing company verified, yes, we received the funds immediately, same day. But in New Jersey, my friend did the same thing. He sent me proof, but my partner had to wait until the next business day. So it was kind of hard trying to close to really push it. So you want to make sure you wire the closing funds in advance prior to closing to make sure they receive the cash on hand. Don't wait until closing to bring a certified check. You can, but you risk something going wrong. Just wire it in advance, okay? But you have to get the HUD in order to do that. So once you get the HUD and you look it over, to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. Make sure the repair allowance credit is there, the rent prorations is there. You also want to make sure the security deposit credit is there. And if you pay for the appraisal out of pocket, make sure that's not on the HUD, because sometimes they do that. Like, hey, why is the appraisal cost here? I already paid for this. So you want to look it over, and then once it's good to go, send the wire prior to closing, at least 2 to 3 business days prior to closing. Have your partners wire the money directly to the closing attorney, so no money touches your hands. So you don't have to run into that problem. Okay. So notify the partners of how payments will be made, what's expected of them, how much they should spend, managing the property, investor payouts, reports, etc. So you're pretty much telling them, hey, after we close, this is what's going to happen next. Expected of them, hey, we get something in the mail. I'm not sure if you noticed, they're called bills. So as part of this partnership, you guys have small responsibilities, such as paying the bills. That's one of you guys. Or hey, there's also bookkeeping involved. One of you guys will be responsible for bookkeeping. I'm going to be responsible for managing the property or managing the property manager. So you make sure you outline those responsibilities, and you might want us to talk about investor payouts. I tend to pay out my partners quarterly because I want to see how the property is performing. So I tell them, hey, every quarter, starting whatever the next quarter is, I'm going to pay you out after that quarter is finalized. And let's say every quarter on the 3rd of every month. And based upon the cash flow that's needed for each person, I'm going to send it out to you via check. Or I'm going to do a free wire transfer through Chase QuickPay, for example. Okay? But outline how you're going to pay them and give them reports, meaning if you don't have QuickBooks, you can't give them P&Ls, that's fine. At least share with them that partner spreadsheet, including the resources, so that way they can look at it and say, oh, okay, so I see how much I'm due next quarter. I'm due $1,000 as my investor payout. Or you can give them reports on property management. You can do it the old-fashioned way, just send them an email saying, hey, this is what's going on with this property for the month of October. This is going on. All the rents were received, but just to give you a heads up, we got to repair this deck. So we're going to incur a hefty cost, $5,000 to repair this deck. Or hey, we had repairs done and this and that. Just give them a monthly report. Very easy. And you can have your property manager, if you have a property manager, drafts it for you. You're managing it yourself, then you can just email it to them and just let them know what's going on with the property. Always keep them informed. Now you have to keep them informed every week, like I said, prior to closing, because you're doing that weekly just to establish trust from them and establish rapport. But after you close, you might want to say once a month we're going to have a call. Just once a month to go over the performance of the asset. And have a schedule. You know, we're going to talk on the 3rd of every month at 10 a.m. via this conference line. Okay? So that's how you want to do it. And so that's what's expected of them, how payments will be made, managing the property. Either you'll be managing or you'll be managing the property manager, and so forth. So have the seller transfer public assistant ownership to your company and issue a change of management notice to the tenants and collect keys. So prior to closing, once you have your closing date, let's say you know you're closing Monday and today's Wednesday, you want to move forward with contacting Section 8, for example, or public assistance, and transfer the ownership from the seller's name to your name. So you might have to fill out a change in ownership form with public assistance. The seller has to sign it and you have to sign it. So just bring it to closing and submit that to the proper channels, whether that's Section 8, any other public assistance like the Veterans Assistance Program, or any other programs in your locale. They're all different, right? So you want to make sure you transfer that ownership, and also utilities. So on the day of closing, if you're responsible, the owner, and you're responsible for water and sewer, you want to get that transferred as well. But you want to call them in advance, because in Pennsylvania, for the water company in particular, a representative from the buyer side, like myself, you have to sign off on the documents in person to change the water from the previous owner to the new owner. As ridiculous as that sounds, they require us to do this in person. I would love just to have it notarized. I would love just to do this electronically through DocuSign, but unfortunately, I had to do it in person. So what if I didn't know that? So you want to make sure you do that. Call these companies in advance and ask how they handle their business, how do we transfer the ownership, and follow the proper channels prior to closing, because you don't want any surprises. So that's what changing the ownership for Section 8, public assistance, as well as even utilities. So just take a look at that. Okay, now when it comes to taxes, you don't have to. That's normally done by the closing attorney. Got it? All right, excellent. So have the seller sign off or transfer public citizen is different for every company and so forth. So it's up to you to perform the proper due diligence and see how to do it. And issue change of management notices to the tenants and collect the keys. So at closing, you want to collect the keys, but you also want to post notices on the doors. Hey, there's a change in management. Don't contact the previous management company or owner. You now have to contact us. In the change in management form, I normally have the following information. Hey, there's a change in management. This is the new property manager. Her name is blah, blah, blah. You can reach her at blah, blah, blah. Paying the rent, you mail all checks to P.O. Box 1234, Atlanta, Georgia, 30000. That's what I'll say. But how to pay, who to contact, how to pay rent, repairs, go to this website and submit your request. Or if you have repairs, call me at this number. Or you have repairs, send an email outlining everything that's going on with the repairs so that we can handle that for you. You want to tell them everything there is to know about contact with issues, when rent is due, how to pay the rent, and what about repairs. And you want to post a notice on every tenant's door and also mail them the same notice to their property as well, and then you want to call them. So that way there's no excuse. Oh, I didn't get the notice. Really? We posted on your door on Monday. We called you on Wednesday, and we mailed it out to you on Friday. There's no excuse. You know when the rent is due, how to pay the rent, and so forth. So you want to do that. Don't just do one of those ways and say, well, I called them, they didn't answer. No, do all three. Well, I mailed it to them, but I didn't post it on the door, and I didn't call them. Do all three. And that's coming from a manager point of view. When I was a manager for the government, I realized people will come to my trainings, and they will forget to do their homework. And I realized I got to tell these people 3 times, 3 different ways. So there's no excuse. And if you didn't come equipped with the homework being completed prior to coming to class, then you're getting written up. Period. So the same thing with your tenants. No excuse. Okay? Excellent. And collect the keys at closing. And if it's coin laundry as well, get the coins from the keys from that, and just make sure the keys work at the property. And have a spare key. What I do with property management, I have like spare keys as well. So just in case a key is missing, I have hidden in another property where I have like a basement or so forth where I keep supplies and keys. And by the way, when doing repairs, make everything cookie cutter with supplies. So meaning if you're using a certain color paint from a certain company, let's say Home Depot, always use that for all your properties. So that way you don't have one color paint here and you can't use it on the next property. Or you have one light fixture here and you can't use it on the next property. So just in case you have excess, whether it's carpet, whether it's tile, whether it's paint, whether it's light fixtures and so forth, if there's excess, you can use it for any property. Make everything cookie cutter, because you'll soon to see you can go to Home Depot and other hardware stores and get discounts and have extreme cost savings as a result. Okay, so that's just a tip in regard to doing repairs. Not saying you had to do it, but you instruct your contractor to do that. Excellent. All right. Do one final inspection a few days prior to closing. Okay, just make sure there's nothing fishy about that. And remember I told you about my electrician on one property, right? And which he wanted to sell it to me, and I said, hey, I'm an investor, I buy it at a discount. What if I didn't check it prior to closing? I wouldn't have noticed the dog was, was starving. You can see his ribs through his fur in the middle of winter. I wouldn't have noticed that. Or that he left furniture and clothing and trash behind. Unless I inspected it prior to closing. Especially when you're doing a distressed asset, if you're using hard money, inspect it prior to closing. Now with a multifamily, you do the same. This past 9 unit I closed in November 2017. I did a light inspection prior to closing to make sure everything was good to go. So you do the same. And decide whether it's better to do remote closings or to close in person. I've done many remote closing in the past because I reside in New York at one point, and now I reside in Atlanta, Georgia. Now I invest in Pennsylvania. So I prefer to do remote closings where I'll have a person notarize the closing documents, I'll sign them, and then I'll FedEx them to my partner to sign, and I FedEx it to, or he FedEx those documents to the mortgage lender or closing attorney. I've done that many times, but you have to make sure you dot your I's. Excuse me, guys. You have to make sure you dot your I's and you cross your T's. So you don't want to move forward with shipping all these documents notarized. Oh, I forgot the initial on page 88, line 2. Oh man, I forgot to sign here on page 13, section B, article 5. And then it just delays the closing. So you want to make sure if you do remote closing, you do them right. I'm starting now to prefer, even though I live out of state, I'm starting now to prefer in-person closing because you get to meet the seller face to face. And if the seller is a serial entrepreneur, serial real estate investor, you never know. He might be able to sell you more properties and you gain rapport. You never know. He may also be able to assist you greatly with being a mentor, right? He might say, oh, how many properties you own? You own 75 units? Wow, this is my first commercial property. He might be your big brother, or your big sister, your big mentor. So that way you solidify that in-person mentor, the local mentor. And that's what I like to do with remote closings. And also further establish rapport in person with my real estate agent who's there at closing, or the wholesaler who's there at closing, the mortgage lender who's there at closing, the title company, because I want to keep working with the same people over and over. Now, don't be afraid to explore other people or other people in the industry if they're tripping, quote unquote, but if they're not, do it in person so you can establish that rapport so they will want to work with you more in the future, okay? All right, great. So get property management in order, and we'll discuss property management in more detail moving forward, but in the next video. But celebrate your success. Now I say a lot, if you don't need it, don't eat it. So when you get that cash flow and you're still working your 9 to 5, which pays your bills, provides your living expenses, helps you get qualified for mortgages, by the way, do not eat your cash flow, reinvest it. But I would say your first check, give it away. Give it away to charity as your first fruit, to your church. Just give it away. In other words, invest it. Okay? Bless somebody with it. The next check, have fun with it. If you want to turn up, you want to have a good time, you want to treat yourself to a little vacation with that $1,000, buy yourself a nice chain or a watch or whatever floats your boat, a purse, a new dress, a night out in the town. Spend your second check enjoying your success. And then every check thereafter, reinvest it. Pay off the business credit, use it towards savings, improve your financial situation, whether you need another round of ink removal, remove some negative items, and so forth, okay? So save it or reinvest it to meet your financial freedom goal. And tell everybody about the deal that you closed on. Tell everyone, family members, friends, your accountability partners, of course, your networking friends. Tell everybody, because you never know. Some people might be listening and say, hey, I want to be your next partner. Or hey, I want to be able to work with you in the future. So make sure you tell everyone about your deal. It's in always, after you close on one deal, as a general rule in sales, you're only as good as your last deal, right? So after you close on this deal and you have it stabilized, don't get me wrong, we focus a lot on acquisition as entrepreneurs, but we also got to focus on management too. Not saying you have to manage the properties. Of course, as a property manager, you can do that, but you want to make sure that it's stabilized. Okay, you want to continue to focus on acquiring more and more properties, and you can't even manage the properties you currently have because it'll just be a bigger mess moving forward. So you want to make sure that you get it stabilized, but after you close on that deal, you're looking for more money and more deals. Again, what's the 2 most important responsibilities as a real estate entrepreneur? Getting access to deals, getting access to money. So continue to look for more partners, look for more agents, look for more wholesalers, more deals, more rounds of business credit, and so forth. Always looking for the money and then the deal, okay? Find the money, find the deal. And if you receive a repair allowance, place that credit into the bank account. So you might be saying, well, I got a repair allowance of $10,000, so that's $10,000 less that they bring at closing. Yes, but no, you still want to do those repairs. So if you have a partner and yourself, y'all putting money in, sure, you might have saved $10,000 at closing, but put that $10,000 in your business bank account so that you can get those repairs done. Because tenants will love you after that. Because sometimes they don't like previous management because they don't do repairs, so the tenant doesn't pay on time and in full. But if you come in, rule with an iron fist, and get the repairs done right away, especially important repairs that need to be done, make sure that you put that money in the account and you move forward with fixing those items slowly but surely. Now, if a tenant reaches out to you and say, hey, new management, this has been done, this has been messed up for 3 months. Hey, I just bought the property yesterday. But we will schedule it. What's the time on our schedule is Thursday at 3 p.m. Are you available then? If not, when? What's the best time we can reschedule? So that's how you do it. Don't let a tenant try to pressure you and say, oh, this is this and this. If you already did the property inspection, you saw off your eyes as well, you should know that this repair needs to be done, but you should schedule it out. As I mentioned before, whatever doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. So make sure you schedule it and communicate and tell the tenant, hey, if you happen to not show up, if you're not able to give us access, and if you're giving our contractor a hard time being rude to them for no reason, it will be hard for us to help you. So we need your cooperation, okay? So that's some information about closing deals. Stay tuned for the next video, my friend. I'm glad you're out there closing deals because you're a closer. I want you to believe that. Remember I said that. You're a closer. Believe that. Peace.